Thank you.
Hi. Hi, everybody. So, yesterday I talked a bit about the world, kind of the world that I got started in with the cameras that I got started with, and my great aunt and whatnot. And I kind of left off with the cameras and the images and whatnot. But how I really started was, and what kind of an area that I absolutely love is black and white photography. And it is one of those things that some people really love it, or they just don't get it, or they don't want it, they don't like it, and that's images. For me, it's just one of those things that was my first sense of going into a dark room, and after having taken pictures and then put those negatives in front of in a developer, and then exposing it onto the paper and doing all the manipulations that we did in the darkroom, and then to put it in chemicals and have it come up. It was like magic. I mean, literally, you have a white piece of paper. You're in a room that is dark, and it's got some red lights that you've been in, and you put the negative in this holder, and you put it in, and you are aware of where the picture's going to be, and you start to expose it onto the paper with this light, and you dodge and burn, where you put your hand in kind of ways and block out the light in some places, and then focus it in another place, and you move papers in front of it and do all this kind of stuff. And it just was magic to me. And then when it came around to digital, I oftentimes still hear people will say, oh, well, did you Photoshop that? And sometimes I just like, we did the same thing in the darkroom to change pictures a lot with colors and chemicals and stuff we did, and what the proportions. But for some reason, a painting artist can change the colors in a sunset and change it to what they believe and what they see. But a photographer does it, and suddenly it's like, oh, you must have Photoshopped that. And it becomes like this nasty kind of...
Like you're cheating.
Yeah, and it's like, okay, so hold it. I need to start this live. Go live here. I forgot to click on my go live. Share. I will, and go live. So anyway, I just forgot to click on my go live. I was on my rant about that. So it is that sense that, and as someone who worked in the dark room and spent so much time creating images in a dark room, and knowing how much manipulation we did of light and dark and color temperature and all that kind of stuff, through that, when I hear the comments about, oh, what'd you do? You must have manipulated it. Well, yeah. Seriously? The same thing, the same way that an artist of a painting does the same, changes their type of paint they use, changes the color that they want to we do the same thing. And so and for some reason, oftentimes it's not thought of as being truly very artistic or taking a lot of effort. And I just want to take people on a little journey of taking a blah image that I took something that didn't work out so great, into a black and white, and to show what happens. One of the things that happens when you're photographing is it is not always convenient to be out when the light is the best. And the light is usually the best early in the morning or late in the afternoon, and what we call even after the sun is almost set. And so it's those are the times that the light can be the best, and you get the best creation of light and dark and shadows. But sometimes you can't be there then. And sometimes you're in the middle of the day or you're someplace and something happens and you just have to take the picture, and what can you do to make it something special? A lot of people will, there's, with digital now, there's ability to stack images on top of each other and make these stacking, so when you'll see night skies that have those cool round star trails, very rarely is that a single image that has been star trailed around, but that doesn't diminish the amount of work that it takes. That, to get that star trails all around, often takes stacking anywhere between, 75 and 400 images on top of each other to get those star trails. And they have to do that and make a match. And you have to plan out the exposure and know how it's going to work together. Or a sky doesn't work, and they actually do sky replacements now. A lot of people do. And it's creating a whole nother art. So I decided I wanted to take this, and I'm going to see if I can get this to all go to where I want it to go so I can get to my exit full screen. Yep. And I'm going to see if I can find my Lightroom down here. Where is it? There it is. There it is. We're going to play with an image. All right. So I'm going to go back to this one. Oops. And here it is. So this is what the picture started like. Let me see if I can move you guys around to get you over here so I can get there. This can you see it, Monica? Can you guys see that?
No. Do I have you on?
Oh, screen share. I forgot to screen share. Hang on. That's what I forgot to do here. I was going to share my screen. Come back up. Come back up. I have to go back. You guys just hang on. Let me get one thing here. Exit full screen. There, I have to do that, and then I have to go to this. And there, I forgot to do this in Zoom and screen share. Oh, all right. So, where does it go to share my screen?
Well, Gretchen, while you do that, can I make a comment on your talking about the different processes with the photo editing? I love what you're saying, because the other thing that I would get, that I've gotten over the years with my art, is how long did that take you? Oh. And I always thought that was so funny, because it was like, the art isn't about how long it took or the way you got there. It's very personal, and because it comes from a deeper place within yourself. Yeah. So all of that is just trying to define, and it's okay. It's just someone that doesn't necessarily understand that all those things don't matter with art. Yeah. So now can you see my screen? Yeah. Mm-hmm. Okay. So oops. So this, let's go back to, hang on. Let me go back to something else I want to do. Cancel that. Cancel that. Close that. All right, so now I'm going to go here. I'm going to, let me do something. I forgot to do this. Create a virtual copy. Okay. Come on, virtual copy happen. Did it happen? There it is. All right. So this is copy. All right, so let's take this one first, and I'm going to reset it to show you. Oh, this is what the image started at. Okay, hang on. Let me do something. Undo, reset. All right, I'm going to go to this one because this is the copy, and it should have, because I need to get all my stuff that I did here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take you to the steps that I got to get to this image. Okay? Because it didn't start out like that. It started out somewhat like that, but let me see if I can find it on the other one. I made a virtual copy. So I'm going up to my history here. History. Where are you? There we go. History. Okay. That one. Okay, now this one. Does it have? There we go. Okay. This one. All right, so let's do a reset on this. and show you what it started out like. Okay, that's what it started out like. It's kind of in the middle of the day. It is not really exceptional. The light was flat. But how often do you think I'm going to get to be sitting 15 feet away from a juvenile eagle?
Gee, no kidding.
You know, I mean, and I'm on the road right here. He's over there. And I know he's going to take off eventually, which eventually he did, like that.
Whoa!
And then I turned that into that.
Whoa! Wow!
But meanwhile, back here, he's sitting here and he's looking pretty cool. And I was the other day, and I was thinking about what to do with this and how I felt about this whole thing with taking people through what we do. And I thought, well, okay, this image is okay. I wonder what I can do to make it wonderful and make it something more. So I'm going to take you to this image where I ended up from that. I ended up there. Okay, so I'm going to show you how I got there and what it means as an artist to start there. Okay, so I started with this image right here. I switched to black and white, and I started with this, and then I went to some highlights that I changed, and I changed the highlights, which you probably I don't know if it's showing, and I changed the shadows. I brought them up. I changed the white clipping, and then the black clipping, and then the dehaze and the clarity. And let's see if I can get to the crop rectangle. And by that time I'm getting to where I'm going to crop it. And I'm going to keep changing it in each section. This is like repainting it for a painter each time. What am I going to do? Am I going to change the size? Where do I want it to do? Is it going to fit to what I call, what we call the rule of thirds? So if you split this into divisions, I don't know if you can see my cursor, like a third into 3 and thirds. You never necessarily want the focus to be right in the center, right in here. That would be really dull. So I set them off to the side on one of the third lines and at what we call one of the I can't remember the goal, some kind of point. I can never remember those things. And then I still had a lot of things that didn't really highlight him. So what I needed to do was I needed to start highlighting him. And by doing that, I took this brush up here and I'm going to make it larger. And so we actually have brushes and stuff that we use, and we can actually brush out and brush in things. So I put a brush right here on him, on this eagle, and that kind of red stuff that shows there is what I did. And I changed some settings with him, and I did that 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 different times to minutely change different things about it. And then I wanted to update my shadow adjustment and my highlight adjustments, and I kept doing that in dehaze. And I got all of these things done, some texture. So if you were painting, all of a sudden you're going to decide where you're going to add texture and where you're going to add other things. So my exposure, sharpness, and adjustment, and then I decided I knew I wanted to take it to black and white, but there's a lot of things I had to see to do because I knew what it would happen in black and white. So I started it and converted it, if it's going to do it for me, right there, to black and white. Okay? So there's the first set of black and white, and then I added some more. And then I added a graduated filter on the top. So like, this would be like if you were painting, you add some more adjustments to it. I did that again and again.
Can I ask that question?
Yes, of course.
Awesome. Okay, so when you do your editing, do you write down the steps that you take as you do them, like a recipe, or do you just like
No,
you
because
just remembering what you
because
did?
every image has a different thing that I want to do to it. So the history in Lightroom, fortunately, they keep the history. Unlike what I showed you with what my grandmother and great aunt did, how they wrote everything down by hand. And when I did darkroom stuff, I would write it out by hand what I did. If I how many seconds additional seconds I would dodge or burn a certain area, which is what I did. So when I added this, I added a graduated filter. Let's see if I can go back to this.
What program are you
I'm in
using?
Lightroom.
Okay. So you said they do keep a record of
Yeah,
all your steps.
there's a whole
That's
history that's done, because this, what I'm taking you through, took me an hour, a couple hours probably to work on, to think back and go back to. And the filter, the graduated filter I added, changes the sky to a little more distinct. You can see the sky has a little more distinct adjustments. Then I updated the exposure. See that?
Yeah.
See there, you got that. I updated again. And these updates that I'm doing, if you can see over on this side of my screen, okay, and there's tiny little, I'll move this down, these little sliders. Literally, I will go through on adjustments, and I will adjust them by 1 point or 4 points, or nope, that's too much, back and forth until I see what I need to see, until I see the way I want it to be. Added a graduated filter there. Where's that filter? Graduated filter is this one. So this is the graduated filter. You can see that those lines that go across. That's the mask to show what I did. Okay.
Oh, wow.
And then, oops, needs to get out of the way.
So you can change because it's
So
horizontal.
well, yeah, and I can flip it to be right to the right or the left, or set it anywhere I want in different places. And I'm done with that one, so let me done there. And
Gretchen,
what?
it's important for them to know that all this information is in the image you took.
Oh yeah.
You're just hiding it
Yeah.
and revealing it to your tastes.
So he's telling you this is.
The record is that's the program of the photo.
Well, yeah. The thing is though that what happened? Oh, where did I go? Window. I'm in develop window. So it's not. One of the things what Bob was saying is that when I'm. Oh, that's a different. Oh, see, that's a different preset. I ran over the top of a preset I didn't want to use. No. There we go. What Bob's saying is that I'm not adding anything to the image really that wasn't there. Some people will do that, and that's that's an art form in and of itself. It's pretty amazing. But for this particular image, what I'm doing is simply, all right, and oftentimes when you take a picture in the middle of the day, because the camera takes in so much, where we look out at the clouds in the middle of the day and our eyes see it in a different way, and our eyes see the dimensions and all that fancy, how pretty it is. And then you get your picture back that you've taken in the middle of the day and you wonder, why in the heck is it so flat? Because the camera takes in everything that's in that image. And I'm just kind of revealing some of the shadows and some things that were already there. So where am I? Texture adjustment, is that where I was? Where was brush strokes? Where did I go? Where did my go? Update graduated filter. Okay. So then what happened to the history? Something happened here. I'm gonna have to, unfortunately, undo that.
Well,
There we go.
I'll say that I have worked with programs that don't have all this. This is so cool. And I have had times where I wanted to recreate something and I had no clue what the steps were and I couldn't remember, some of them I don't even know what the font was called. I mean,
Yeah.
so that's
So can you see here on this side where my cursor is? On my screen?
I'm not seeing it.
Okay, it would be on it's on the left side of my screen. Under where it says Lightroom Classic.
Okay,
Yeah. Okay.
Yes.
So this
Yeah.
where it says history,
Uh-huh.
these are this is let me go down. This for this one picture. Where am I?
Wow.
I started here and I went every one of these is a single added step.
Wow.
All the way up to here. And if I open them there, come on, buddy.
Wow.
There. So there were things that I did to show you, like for graduated filters. So let me see if I can. There's one here that I showed you, that one. Okay. So done. The brush strokes. Let's see if they'll come up. Brush strokes. Where are you? Okay. Oh, brush strokes. There's these guys that are on these little dots. There's little dots you see on the eagle, but then I'm gonna say done on that. There's other little things. These guys. Okay. See all those little black dots?
Yeah.
Okay. So what those all are, and I'll show you. They are little masking highlights, kind of like when you paint, how you show where the light comes from, or you highlight it and make it bring in some more shadows and depth. So what I wanted to do was make sure that the eagle stood out, and so I gave a little bit of that extra light because some of the light was coming from this direction and was hitting him here, but I wanted to accent that. And so these are things that you paint in, and it's really kind of fun to do. Like here on the horizon, I wanted a little bit of extra light there. And that was just one thing to do on this particular image. There's just so many the radial filter, update the radial filter that I did. This is,
That step right there, it's something that it just made it pop in a way that's the artistry.
Yeah.
That is the difference. That's like, how would you know to do that? You just have to feel that.
Yeah, and it's really part of what makes it so incredible to do. And like there's this little mark up here I can see. I think I took it out. It was probably a mark on my sensor, or else I was, I don't know what, but sometimes you get little things you have to paint over because they're dust spots or stuff. But so you go from this, really, that's the cropped down version, to this.
Yeah.
And to me, this tells the story that I wanted it to tell. And it tells the story because I brought in light to the eagle so that he became even more of a focus, and he was in a dramatic setting. I also did what they call, how you kind of vignette. I darkened the edges around here, so that it brought the eyes, the eye into him, and it's just what we do. And it's always interesting. Like I said, it's always interesting to hear people say, well, you must use Photoshop, or didn't you? No, well, no, I use Lightroom. But even if someone does, Photoshop is really pretty amazing, and if I could probably figure out how to use it, I might. But
you know what? I own it.
I do too.
I did, and it's such an art form, isn't it? That's what I said.
And I have it, and if I wanted to, I have the ability to take a picture into Photoshop and do stuff with it. I also have the ability to take, other images into other programs that allow me to do some fun things with them. But like this I just decided on this one to make it into sepia because I just liked the way it looked. For me, it was just part of the art. And, you know, it's...
You must have been working on this and going, oh.
Yeah, I was pretty cool. It was pretty cool because I had gotten out of the car very slowly and had gone from the very, like, okay, so where he was first, and then and I got a little, let's see if I can go through this, got a little closer, and I'm taking these and I'm trying to decide what he's doing, and I was taking a lot of pictures, and then as I'm watching him, I get to one point, and by this time I'm out of my car, and I notice that, if you'll notice, his claw right there is getting a little bit, and the next thing I know, his wings are up, and he's getting ready to take off. And it was like, what? And so I got that, a couple of them. Yeah, it wasn't so great, and then he took off away from me. But it's just still those things you get to see. It's kind of cool. Like this particular bird, I think I've done some work with this one. I haven't gotten to these yet to see if there's anything I can do. But what's kind of fun is to see would, hold it, not that one, but would this one can initially, it might not work in black and white. It might, but it's got too much. I mean, you have to really understand color theory and to know how things reflect light to know whether something's going to work in black and white, unless you're going to change an image and the colors completely, which is perfectly fine to do. If I really wanted to in this, I could change the tint. And do all kinds of fun things, if you want to do. And it's just, that's part of the artistic in it. It's one of those things that being a photo artist has to do with, let me see if I can get a window up here. I'm running over something. Oh.
Now, I've noticed, people don't necessarily have to be artists to appreciate your work, but I feel like I've tended to really enjoy connecting my artwork with other artists because they have an understanding of what goes into the process a little more sometimes.
Yes. Yeah, it's really is. And, my little dear.
Oh gosh.
Yeah, that was a little guy. He was at my friend's house, and literally, he was showing us the backyard where it was, and we almost stepped on it.
Oh.
And I had time to go back into the house, get my camera, and come back in, and he had not moved. But fawns. I mean, not even an eyelash wiggled on the fawn. But the next morning, he was gone. Mom came back and got him. They'll do that kind of stuff. But yeah, it's just different kind of things that I like to take and like to do, and sometimes they work. What was this? The balloon glow. Remember when we were up at your place up there that night. And so that was kind of a fun thing to do. So different things, you take a lot. Some turn out differently, some don't. Some things turn into total abstracts, where I can take them into a different area, and a different program. This is kind of a new one that I did. Let's see, this one is down at Fort Stevens on outside of Astoria, and it's part of the old shipwreck that's on the beach there. And it really, I think the before. Oops, nope, I'm in the wrong section. I always do this. See, I get excited.
I'm just going all the way along.
So now I'm back in the development. Before.
Whoa! Oh.
And so what I really wanted to do was in this one, I needed to tell the story of the
Yeah, the texture.
the texture and the difference between the soft sand, but really, people think of the water as being awfully soft and nice, but those they cause a lot of stuff. So that was just one of them right there that I did on that. That's a recent one. So anyway, I am. That's what I wanted to share. Now, see if I can stop my share.
Well, that's another thing I love about your work is that you share the story, you share the journey, you emphasize the journey in your photos, and that's something that is I mean, I would say unique to you, but that's why every artist has their own take. Like, it's like, well, what angle are you looking at? What aspect are you looking at?
And I guess if anybody, I mean, a lot of people, they, I want. You can learn these things, and you can do a lot of things like that, and people can do some amazing things, even with their phones and how to enhance their own images. And even if they learn just a couple little tricks of like the not putting your horizon at the center but dropping it down to the lower third or the upper third, or putting your subject off to the side, or giving some lead in lines, those are just 3 little things you can do to completely change how an image looks. And then there's so many filters now that you can add with your pictures you take with your iPhone, so that you can pump it up. But behind that filter that you add on to a picture that you take, you've got to remember, if you think it's just a filter, oh, that's just one filter, those filters can be as many as those steps that I took you through and showed you that I have in the history. And I only took you through about a third of all the ones I actually did before I hopped up to the end. Because it's just can get, I mean, when you're adjusting something by such a small amount till it looks right to you. And then the thing is it might not be it for somebody else. It's very much the story that I wanted to tell.
Yeah.
And what comes with it. You see the stuff behind me. They're all, it's kind of the glare of the sun, but they're all different black and white images of a story that I needed to tell. And if it fits in someone's life and they like that image and they choose to put it on their wall, then I'm really blessed. I think that that's an honor. But it is that is art. But just if whoever listens or hears this and then even stops and thinks for just a second before they ask that crazy question, well, did you Photoshop that? Sorry, I hate to say, because it's because I know that their background hold on, because I know that the back of that story is that they for some reason they feel like it diminishes the image in some way. That question, I mean, that it is diminished if you do that, and it's out of lack of, and I don't think it's out of intentional disrespect or anything. I think it's out of just lack of understanding and knowledge of what it really takes to create things and to have them be the story that you want to tell. So
yeah. Well, and I think you're so right, and that's why I think that it's with art, and it's also basically with anything in this life. And even coming down to your own concept of self and sharing self with others. They don't know your journey, they don't know, so if you come off and you present without value to others,
mm-hmm.
you're going to be either educating them to how much value, little bit of value that you have, or what great value you have.
Yeah.
So, you either walk tall or you hunch over, because they're not going to have an education about it. So, and you can educate people to a certain degree, and if they're open to it, and if they're not, then you just you redirect to people that are interested, because there are a lot of different people in this world that will go whoa or want to know the backstory.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly.
Yeah.
So anyway, there's a lot of things about this whole wonderful art world that we have that I think, oops, come on. There we go. Trying to get, there we go. I couldn't see myself. That there's just so many wonderful things that we can do, and you know, it's fun to share and to be part of it, and to, but I just, you know, I cannot paint a picture with paints, but I can create a picture with painting with light, with photography. So that's, you know, and that's what a lot of what we do. And a lot of it has always been, that's what photography is, actually means painting with light.
That's
And
like, is it the
that's
definition of the word?
that's the
or-
definition of the word.
Wow.
Yeah, and you look back in history, and I watched a bunch of really cool documentaries the other day, like I said, on Canopy, and about really how people in darkroom days, it was just so awesome to see, and that's how I learned, and that's what we learned, you know, when we studied Ansel Adams and Minor White and Alfred Stieglitz. They, you know, they went out and took the pictures and the images and got them, but then as much time as they spent capturing the image, they spent equal amount of time in the darkroom creating the image to look like they wanted.
Oh, absolutely. Well, and the you know, when we were watching a movie, Matt and I, the other day, and it was such a subtle thing, but it was oh, what was the name of that movie? It was a baseball movie, but it was cool because it didn't matter, you know, it wasn't about the subject, but they took the sound from the subway, and it was and then they blended it in. It was so subtle that you couldn't even sense when there was the separation, the beginning and end of the subway into this dramatic, almost it was like an orchestral musical, and it just, the way that they went from subway, because the tones were very similar, and it was all in the editing. It was all in taking that sound, drawing it out, amplifying it, very things that required a lot of care and a lot of time, and so easily, I'm sure that there were many people who just, you know, had no awareness at all, discarded that you know, or just had no clue about it, and that's okay too. But when you notice something like that, when you see the care, when you see a glint in someone's eyes, when you see the care that's been edited in a photo, or to see this backstory and to be educated about this, I'm very grateful for Gretchen.
Oh, good. I'm glad.
Even as an artist, there are things that I'm not aware of. So, you know, it's just fascinating to me, and your care, and that's why.
It's fun. It's a challenge. It's fun. And I've been doing it for, I'll show you this, if you guys can see this. So see this? Oh, there's a little bit of glare. Can you see that?
Oh, yeah.
Okay, that is the home I grew up in. This is the barn. There's the house. There's one of the roads, the tractor roads through the orchard, in the snow. I probably took this picture probably when I was a junior in high school, and I literally, it was a film, so this was developed in the darkroom at my school. But again, I had to get any bit of this cloud up here, because if you know Eastern Washington in the winter, and God, it can be gray. It may be sunny in the summer, but boy, in the winter it can get gray. But to get all that and the starkness of the trees, that's you have to add to all kinds of things to get this. But yeah, I found this in the boathouse the other day too.
Oh my gosh, Gretchen! So you were how old when you did that?
16 or 17, maybe 16.
Not that I'm surprised at all, but wow.
Yeah.
Hi, Claudia.
Hi, Claudia. So you guys, thanks for listening in, and that's done with my session today of the black and white and color to taking you into my black and white world. See what we do tomorrow, and I might yeah. All right.
Thank you so